Hey everybody, it's the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm Aaron Matte, sitting in for Jimmy here with Scott Ritter, former Marine Corps intelligence officer and UN weapons inspector, author of the new memoir, Disarmament in the Time of Perestroika, Arms Control, and the End of the Soviet Union. And his brand new Substack is at scottritterextra.com. So we're going to talk now about an individual named Bill Browder. He was born in the U.S., but he actually gave up his citizenship to avoid paying taxes because he made a lot of money in the 1990s in Russia when Russia was being looted under the advice of neoliberal U.S. Government advisors. But then Bill Browder got into a dispute with Vladimir Putin after Putin took power, where Russia claimed that Browder was evading taxes. And so Browder has gone on a personal mission to basically undermine Vladimir Putin, and he is the person responsible for something called the Magnitsky Act, which is a sanctions measure passed by Congress, which imposes sanctions on people who people like Bill Browder don't like. It's always someone in an enemy state targeted by the U.S. So Bill Browder is, for some reason, considered an expert in U.S. media, who's often consulted to go on television and share his opinion. But here he is actually speaking to Ukrainian state television, and this is what he said.
You know, Putin, everybody makes calculations based on risk and reward. For Putin, the reward was elevated approval ratings and safety, and he ended up being wrong. And the trouble is that now he can't back out. And so the only option is to totally destroy him. The trouble with that option, it is the only option, is that there will be many casualties on both sides in that process.
Scott Ritter, you heard that. So we have to take out Putin, and many people will die, but that's just what we have to do. There's no other option.
Bill Browder spoke, therefore it shall be. No, I mean, let's parse this out, because unlike Bill Browder, I've actually read the. I can't make that assumption. I don't know this for certain, but it doesn't appear that he has read the Russian nuclear posture. And one of the key aspects of the Russian nuclear posture is similar to ours, that if you attack the national leadership, if you seek to do regime change, a decapitation strike, the Russians will respond. And they have something that we don't have. It's called the dead hand, the perimeter system. This is literally a doomsday a setup that if, let's say, we launch a first strike against Russia, we take out Putin. As Bill Browder says, we have to take out Putin. He's a threat. And we take out everybody else, Shoigu, Gerasimov. We get them all. Dark Eagle works. It moves fast, hypersonically, hit them, killed them. We win. Wrong. We can never win because of dead hand. You see, the Russians are sending signals constantly, testing command and control connectivity to a underground place somewhere in Russia that has a man and a computer. And if those signals ever stop, the man's there, he picks up the phone, says, "Hey, Moscow. Hey, Moscow. Moscow's dead." Then he returns to the sensors. Did we detect an explosion? There are seismic sensors. Is there a seismic activity? There's radiation sensors. Is there radiation all over Russia? And if the answer is yes, yes, he hits the button that sends these missiles in silos and road mobile missiles firing with a communications package that communicates the launch commands that are received by the various launch capacities, and they automatically launch the totality of Russia's nuclear arsenal towards the United States, towards Europe, towards any potential enemy. Automatically. You can't stop. And let's say the human gets killed. The system still works. It's called the dead hand for a reason. Now, is this theory? No. I personally was involved in inspecting missiles belonging to the dead hand system back in 1990. It's as real as it gets. So, Bill Browder, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. What you're talking about is danger. When you say many casualties, you're basically talking about every living person in the world. Watch the movie On the Beach. You'll know what happens to humanity when there's general nuclear war.
Scott, we're going to wrap. So any final words for us? Especially I'm wondering to people who are maybe feeling despondent at the sight of progressive Democrats retracting their own call for diplomacy at a time when many people just want this war to end and for talks to happen to achieve that?
No, that's a good point. Well, first of all, I think if we're going to have diplomacy, we must have diplomacy. That's absolute. It should be along the lines of what we discussed, arms control. Now, there's a lot of people who are going to say, we can't trust the Russians. And a lot of people in Russia say, we can't trust the Americans. But I'm here to tell you, in the 1980s, it was worse. And yet, if you read my book, this is my plug for my book, Disarm in the Time of Perestroika, it's not just a memoir, it's history. It's a history of a time when we succeeded in overcoming all obstacles to create this one brief shining moment, this Camelot-like moment of arms control-driven cooperation that led us down a path of deconfliction. It's not just history, though. It's a template of how we can do it again. It says we have hope, that there is hope. We did it before. We can do it again. George Santayana, American philosopher, said those who forget the lessons of history are condemned to repeat it. I have a corollary. Those who don't learn the lessons of history can't repeat it. Read my book, learn the lesson of history, and you'll understand that the negotiations that we talked about are a viable path to normalizing relations between our two nations, Russia and the United States, and deconflicting and bringing about the potential of a lasting peace, one where Europe, the United States, and Russia don't worry about whether or not they're going to wake up tomorrow and find the world gone in a nuclear holocaust.
And Scott, quick last question. You're newly back on Twitter after being banned before under the old regime.
Yeah, I did it myself. I didn't wait to be asked. I just saw Elon Musk was in, so I went ahead and reinstated myself because you don't ask permission for free speech. Free speech isn't something that Elon Musk controls. I don't need to wait for a Twitter board to decide whether or not my banishment was justified. I'm there. If you don't like it, Elon, kick me out and prove that you don't understand what free speech stands for. I'm back. It's at author himself. That's me, the author himself. And there it is.
And the reason you were banned is because you were saying some of the dissenting perspectives on Ukraine, like you were talking about today. And hopefully you'll be sticking around and not banned again.
I hope so, too.
Scott Ritter, former Marine Corps intelligence officer and former UN weapons inspector, author of the memoir Disarmament in the Time of Perestroika, Arms Control and the End of the Soviet Union. And his brand new Substack is at scottritterextra.com. Scott Ritter, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Hey, we're going to see you in Miami, West Palm Beach, Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Burbank. That's right, the Saturday after Thanksgiving here in Burbank, and lots of dates in Los Angeles in December. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all our tickets and join our premium program when you go there too.